How's it going, everyone? Jiivita here with a video on Rage and Focus. This was requested by Sanjuni or Sanjuni32. So Rage and Focus is Boundless's only active skill. In other words, it's a skill that you can take that you actually have to activate, and they can be quite devastating. So as the name implies, we have both Rage and Focus. You do have to pick one or the other. You cannot take both. So this is the Rage epic right here. Over here we have the Focus epic, and then there's two additional epics that will improve and add effects to it. So each one of these can be broken down into 3 effects. How these skills work is that you will build up stacking buffs, or essentially a energy bar, so to speak, in the form of a stacking buff that at any time, as long as you have at least one full stack, you can use a Rage or Focus potion to activate the effect. However, you will have a much greater effect if you allow it to stack all the way up to 10, or at least more stacks, the better, basically. So how you build Rage stacks is by taking damage, how you build Focus stacks is by dealing damage. If you take a look at the Rage skill over here, you can see that this unlocks the ability to build up Rage each time you're hit with an attack. Once you accumulate enough, you can use a Rage Brew to apply thick skin to yourself, which increases basically all of your armor resistances, and yeah, it can be pretty potent if you get all the way up to 10 stacks. Essentially, it made me pretty much impervious to all attacks, or at least reduced it down to a very negligible amount. However, as far as Rage, there are 2 additional effects that can be added. So we have the Rage and Focus Epic 1 as well as Rage and Focus Epic 2. You do not have to take these in order, and each one, they start off doing essentially the same thing. They're going to allow you to build up and maintain your stacks of either Rage or Focus better. So you'll either get it 50% faster, but you'll also lose it a little bit slower as well. However, if you read further into the description, you'll find that this also adds additional effects to each one of these depending on which one you take. So for Rage, this first rank right here is going to give you a heal over time effect, which will help you regain some of that health that you lost. Then Rage Epic 2 will actually essentially turn you into a walking bomb. So as soon as you use that Rage potion, you will unleash an explosion around your immediate area, which is about maybe 6 or 7 meters range. So it's not a huge explosion, but anything in your immediate area will take a fair bit of damage. It was able to take out some of the Cuddle Trunks that just completely one-shotted them, that actually got hit by them. But then again, the Cuddle Trunks that were not that far away were completely unaffected. So, and coming over here and looking at the Focus Epic, this is going to allow you to do essentially the same thing, except you're going to build your charges off of doing damage rather than taking damage, which is kind of my preference. I don't like getting hit if I can avoid it, but it's going to be more damage-oriented type buff. So the base effect of this buff is going to basically increase everything that has to do with damage. It's not just your base damage, it's also your critical strike chance, your critical strike damage, as well as just your regular old damage. And as far as I could tell, just about every shot was pretty much a critical strike. Coming over here to the Focus 1 epic, this one will give you a quickening buff, which increases your action speed and actually increases your movement speed as well. Basically makes everything faster, and was, even without the rapid fire epic, I was able to just fire at ridiculous speeds. And since you're already doing a lot more damage, it was a pretty dramatic increase to your firepower. And then finally over here at the Focus Epic 2, this one is kind of interesting. It's more of a defensive type buff, or actually debuff to the enemies around you. So much like the explosion that the Rage had, this is going to affect everything in a small radius around you, maybe up to 7 meters. And what it's going to do is it's going to slow all their actions down, all the actions of the creatures that are affected by this. And sadly, this used to, if you had it fully charged up, it would completely lock them to place. They couldn't move, they couldn't attack. However, now it appears that they can still attack and move, just very slowly. So it doesn't completely incapacitate them, but anything in the immediate area will be moving much slower, attacking slower. So that coupled with the extra movement speed, you can almost use this as a defensive ability as well as to help your teammates out by slowing down the enemies so they're not maybe attacking them quite as much. However, since you can forge the slow debuff onto sling bows, that's not exactly hugely necessary. So if you're not interested in this particular effect, the 50% extra focus gain could be worth it to you, because that should make a pretty decent difference in how often you can use this. So a few quirks about using these is while you have any of the buffs from these effects, you cannot gain or maintain any more stacks of rage or focus. So if you've just activated your focus epic, all of that damage that you're doing will not go towards generating more stacks of focus until all of those buffs fall off. Same thing for rage, any damage taken will not go towards stacking up any more rage stacks until all the buffs fall off. And actually this rage shield, it lasts for a pretty decent amount of time. It's like 1.5 to 2 minutes long. So, and considering how much protection it actually provides, it's pretty decent. However, that also slows you down from being able to use it again. So if you're mostly interested in like that explosion effect, then you're going to be waiting a long time in between being able to use it, because not only you have to wait for the buff to fall off, but then you have to stack up more stacks to be able to use it. The focus buffs, they don't last too terribly long, so the turnover time is much faster for focus, but then that also means you don't get the benefits of it for very long either. And one quirk of rage is that you just about have to die in order to actually use it, or at least to get up to 10 stacks. I suppose if you're taking a whole bunch of attacks that were being fully resisted, then you would actually be able to use it before you died. But if you're going to look at rage as a way to keep yourself healed, you might be a bit disappointed. I think this is much more of a kind of a tank cooldown to allow you to survive massive amounts of damage, even though there's nothing in the game that really requires such a cooldown just yet. Okay, so that is the basic gist of Rage and Focus. They're pretty interesting and fun to use. The only problem that I have with them is that there's nothing really in the game that demands the use of these. I see these as like, okay, Focus as, you know, to burn through that DPS check for like a group event. Like you have something that comes in and in a very short amount of time it's going to do some really nasty things unless you can kill it in a very short amount of time. That's what Focus Epic really screams to me, is to be able to burn something down, like say a big huge hopper drops into arena and it's just going to wipe everybody out unless you can kill it really fast. That's what Focus really screams to me. However, there's no real boss encounters or anything that to use it for. Same thing for Rage. It's you know, a tank killer attack from some big huge boss, and you know the only way you can really survive it is by using the Rage Epic, and you know that's where this ability to me would really shine. However, there's no such encounters in Boundless just yet. The closest thing you could argue is we have meteors, but there's so many people with highly forged gear that things just die before they're really an issue. So you don't really have to survive their attacks, and you really don't need any help doing extra damage. So that's kind of my complaint with these skills. And as you can see, to fully power them up, that is 3 epics. That's 15 skill points that you could spend somewhere else that give you benefit 100% of the time. These only give you benefit when you actually use them. You also have to have a potion, so there's kind of a continual cost associated with actually using these skills. So the potions, they have been reduced in price to be able to make as far as materials, but still, you're not getting the benefit all the time. And some of the things you could take instead is maybe the durability drain epic to make your sling bows last longer. You could take the jump distance epic. I had to give up not only the shadow effect epic, but also the energy regeneration epic. You could take grapple mastery instead. I mean, there's any number of things, some dexterity to help with action speed, maybe some extra agility. Since these don't give you benefit all the time and there's nothing that really demands that you have these powerful skills, it's generally my opinion to invest your skill points somewhere else that you don't have to use an item just to get the benefit of it, and also something that just gives you benefit all the time, like the jump epic or the durability drain, energy regeneration, either the charging or the rapid fire epic, or even grapple mastery would be a huge boon to any hunter for just the sake of mobility. So cool abilities, just not a whole lot of use for them just yet. But I think that covers Rage and Focus pretty well. This was Jiivita. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more like this, and if there's anything you didn't like, please let me know down below. Also, if you like my channel, want to get cool perks, check out my Patreon page. Until next time, peace.